all living in a world gone geek. It's time to geek hard or go home. The podcast is real. Here's your host, Grounded Geek.
Welcome back, listeners, to another exciting episode of The Podcast is Real. Today, we've got a special treat for you. Our guest is none other than John Fawkes, and we'll be diving into the fascinating world of Jugger. Now, if you already know what Jugger is, it's because you have seen one of the most unsung movies of 1989. But if you're like most people who haven't seen that, you're going to find out what Jugger is tonight, and it's a wild ride. So thanks for joining us. But before we get started, I want to make sure that you know that our episode is brought to you in part from our friends over at Paramount Pictures, who have a new comedy, Casino in Ischia, which is new today on digital. Stars Dominic Purcell of Prison Break fame, a fading action star who heads to Italy to revive his career with a bold new movie. But when the production spirals out of control, his comeback turns into a hilarious misadventure. Buy Casino in Ischia on digital now, not rated, from Republic Pictures. And you can find out how you can get a free digital copy, courtesy of Paramount Pictures, right on our social media, so follow us there. Now, let's welcome our guest and explore the unique sport of Jugger. In 1989, a film emerged that would spark a unique sporting phenomenon. The Blood of Heroes depicted a post-apocalyptic world where teams traversed barren wastelands, engaging in brutal matches of Jugger, a sport where players wielded sharp, dangerous weapons to score points by placing a skull on their opponent's spike goal. This gritty portrayal of athleticism, strategy, and survival has inspired enthusiasts to bring Jugger to life today. And tonight, we're going to delve into how this cinematic vision fuels their passion for this exhilarating sport. Today, we're going to explore this world with our special guest, John Fawkes. Welcome to the show, John.
Hey, guys.
Hey.
I am so glad that you're here. When I saw that you guys do this, as soon as I saw that it was related to the Blood of Heroes, I was immediately intrigued. This is a movie that I absolutely adore. I had a VHS copy of it back in the day that I wore down with so much tracking issues in that tape by the end. I love this movie, and I don't know if most of our audience knows about this movie yet. We're gonna find out. It's one of those movies that I think a lot of people, it's like a cult classic, but maybe a lot of people didn't see or didn't appreciate. And so we're gonna get into that tonight. But before we do that, I want you to tell us a little bit about yourself. I know that we're gonna cover the fact that you're a part of this brutal blood sport from this great movie. But tell us a little bit about who you are and what you do there in LA, right? That's where you are right now?
Yeah, I live in Los Angeles. I live in Hollywood, actually, but I don't work in the film industry. I am a marketing consultant, and I have a sideline in photography. And I've taken some photos at the event, the main event that we play at, which we'll get into, I'm sure. But neither of those have too much to do with Jugger other than taking photos at the event. Most of all, I'm a geek. I love fantasy and sci-fi novels, fantasy and sci-fi movies, which is how I found Jugger. And I like sports.
Awesome.
Playing.
Well, you're in the right place because you'd rather play than watch. You don't like to watch, is that what you're saying?
Yeah. To be clear, when guys say they like sports, it usually means like they watch sports and they can name players and tell you standings of major.
They're a fan of watching the sport.
Yeah.
Right.
I like to play rec sports, and sometimes I'll watch major league sports. I couldn't tell you what the Dodgers record is right now. I'll watch occasionally.
Fair
mostly,
enough.
Yeah.
I like to
the Dodgers. Is that a dodgeball team? What is that?
No, we here at World Gone Geek, we celebrate everybody's passion. We don't care how involved they are. I do have a small little debate that has been, arched throughout geek and nerddom forever. Is there a difference between a geek and a nerd? And I say there isn't. First of all, it's fine to be either there and to be both. You could be both. But a geek has a lot of information in his head that is mostly trivia and pop culture related and is just kind of, geeks out about things, whereas a nerd is someone who also retains all of that sporting news information. So if you might be a sports nerd, if you can recite the baseball stats from, wherever and all that kind of stuff. But if you're just a sports geek like me, you just want to watch and you care if the team town you live in wins, right? Like that's all I care about. But it's okay to be either. We're fine with that. We don't judge how much of a fan you are. You're a fan regardless.
Yeah, I don't know consistent definitions to them. I very broadly hear geek to refer to more pop culture stuff and nerd to be like math and science, but there's no consistency.
Academic.
Right.
No, and they're not mutually exclusive. Like Jeff said,
not
you
at
can
all.
be both. No, right. You can be I don't know if they call that a GERD or a NEEK. I don't know what, but you can be both or one or the other. But we're all part of the same.
That's the point. Yeah.
What is it? Genus? We're the same genus. The same family.
Yes, genus.
Well,
you're a nerd then, because
that was a very nerdy way to put it.
I'm such a nerd.
Love it. All right. So for people who don't know this movie, just really briefly, this is a movie. It came out in 1989. I was a senior in high school when it came out. Utah, you had just started. You were a freshman in college, right? Because I think you're a year ahead of me.
Correct.
And now everyone knows how old we are. And so, yeah. And it starred the legendary Rutger Hauer. Yeah.
Yes.
And it took place in a post-apocalyptic world, a very Mad Max type of world type situation. It was even filmed in Australia.
It was in Australia.
Where they roam this barren wasteland, going from town to town, playing this brutal blood sport for basically little baubles and bolts and nuts and things, which I guess are used for currency. It's never quite explained.
They play for alcohol.
Yeah, I think it was basically...
I
was going to say it's for tribute, alcohol, and sex.
Yeah. Well, the reason they're called juggers is because they take payment partly in jugs of liquor. That's basically they're live fast, die young minor league athletes who just travel around and playing this blood sport in return for food, booze, and hooking up with locals until they get.
And the basic premise of the sport is there's a skull in the middle, like an animal skull in the center.
Dog skull.
Is it a dog skull? And then you have two players on each side a player on each side that is the quick grabs the skull and tries to put it on the spike of the opposing player. So it's sort of like capture the flag, was more like put the dog skull on the flag. And in the meantime, they're trying to, basically kill each other to get there. In the meantime, the rest of the juggers are all beating the snot out of each other, trying to make sure that they don't interfere and can get there quick where they need to be. That's the basic premise of this movie. And there's a league in the movie, and they're trying to, get better and become part of this league. And there's a whole story with Rutger Hauer's past, but we won't get into all that. It's a great movie. You guys will love it. What the reason I say all that is because our guest here, John, actually plays this sport for real.
He's an actual jugger.
Yeah. In LA, there is a league that has decided to take the sport from this movie and bring it into real life. So let's start from the beginning with your story. How did you first come to find out about this movie? Tell us, what drew you to this movie and to this sport?
Yeah. So when I was something like 8 years old, which is way too young, I watched Blade Runner because I had a cool uncle. I still have a cool uncle. He lives in the Los Angeles area, so he is the family member I see the most. But I was at my cool uncle's place, and he was like, yeah, sure, you can watch RoboCop and Blade Runner, right? Why not? And Blade Runner immediately became my favorite movie of all time. I thought Daryl Hannah was super hot. I thought Rutger Hauer as Roy Batty was like the coolest movie character I'd ever seen. So he's been my favorite actor ever since. And so in late 2020, when there wasn't much going on because of COVID and everyone was marathoning movies and TV shows, because what else can you do? I decided to have myself a Rutger Hauer movie marathon. And and so I watched The Blood of Heroes. I watched Blind Fury.
Flesh
and Flesh and Blood.
The Hitcher?
The Hitcher. Yeah, I think those
The
four.
Hitcher, Lady Hawk. He was in Lady Hawk.
Oh, Lady Hawk.
That
Yes,
is one
I
of my
did
favorite
watch Lady Hawk.
movies
That was
of all
great.
time.
Yeah, I watched
And he
all
was
of
in
his,
Buffy the
his
Vampire
class-
Slayer too, the movie.
He was in the original Buffy the Vampire Slayer movie. That's right. That one I did see as a kid, and I did not realize at the time that was him, actually. Then I rewatched it. I was like, oh, yeah, it's Blade Runner.
There he is.
Yeah, so I marathoned.
One of Paul Rubin's greatest
his-
roles as well.
Yeah.
He had one of the best
Which,
lines.
by the way,
in all
most
movie
of
history,
these
Paul
I'd never
Rubens.
heard of before. I never heard of The Blood of Heroes until that day. I was like, I'm bored. I'm going to marathon Rutger Hauer movies. I'd heard of The Hitcher because I think it's one of his more. The Hitcher and Blind Fury are pretty well known. Lady Hawk, Flesh and Blood, The Blood of Heroes. Those I discovered like on that weekend that I think it was probably a whole weekend for the number of movies I watched. Just a weekend of marathoning his movies. I was just like, oh, post-apocalyptic sports movie. Okay, sure. Yeah. It's got Rutger Hauer. It's got Vincent D'Onofrio. It's got Joan Chen, who I
Vincent
wasn't
Phil.
familiar with until I saw that movie. Yeah. It actually has a lot of pretty somewhat well-known actors.
Yeah.
Now I'm blanking on his name.
Lindo.
Delroy Lindo. That's what I'm trying
Delroy
to think of.
Lindo was in there.
Oh, and also, by the way, Bryce Byrne, God. Yeah, the guy who plays Lord Vile was also Toe Cutter in the original Mad Max and Immortan Joe in Fury Road. That guy, it's the same guy.
Oh, that's him?
Yeah. Yes, it's the same guy.
That's so cool.
And then he died a couple of years ago, so he's not Immortan Joe Furiosa.
Right.
Hugh Bryce Kern, I believe that's it. Yeah.
That's amazing.
So he is
I thought
a
looked familiar.
post-apocalyptic film legend.
Right.
Sure.
That's incredible. Now I'm gonna have to rewatch it.
And so what were your thoughts after seeing that movie then for the first time?
I mean, I just thought it was a brilliant concept. A post-apocalyptic sports film just sounds kind of random and dumb. And really, it was in this time period shortly after Mad Max when there was just a craze for kind of knockoff post-apocalyptic movies. But it was one of the ones that actually had an original idea and executed it well. I mean, it's like a low-budget art film, but very well done. I mean, not that low budget, I guess. Vincent D'Onofrio, Rutger Hauer, but I'm not Mad Max high budget. And I loved the world of it. I loved the setting. It's not exactly post-apocalyptic. It's more like post-apocalyptic because it's not, the apocalypse didn't just happen and humanity is not on the verge of extinction. The worst is over. Civilization is starting to come back. There is actually like a trade network between cities and towns where villages provide food for the big cities that are built out of these giant underground bomb shelters.
All right, the 9 cities. That's right.
In the original version that I still haven't seen, but I've heard in the original version, there is a scene that didn't make it to the American cut, The Blood of Heroes, where the main characters get sort of stopped on the road by the highway patrol. So like there's an actual functioning government that goes beyond just one village. So this is like civilization starting to come back, and like it's not just everyone killing each other like in Mad Max. It's a kind of a crappy civilization, but one that works and humanity's not going to die off. And there are no more cars. Those are long gone, but there's still stuff being made out of tires and scrap metal that's left over from the apocalypse.
Yeah, even some of the armor was made out of tires and
Yep, a lot of tire armor, which we use in the real life version. Tire makes very good armor. It's reasonably light. Stuff bounces off of it. It looks cool. Looking cool is a big part of how we build our armor. It's not all fun.
Well, I mean, it is a priority. I mean,
yeah. I mean, we're there to put on a show,
Yeah. Yeah. Well, let's talk about that then. So this was when you were 8. Obviously you didn't start doing this blood sport when you were 8.
Jugger, 8-year-old John.
No, I watched, when I was 8 was when I watched Blade Runner and became a Rutger Hauer fan. Jugger I watched
Blade
in
Runner.
2020.
Oh, my bad. You're right.
Yeah. So what happened was
Gotcha.
I went on the Wikipedia page. I went on the Wikipedia page for Jugger for The Blood of Heroes, And on the Wikipedia page, there's a little note, by the way, this has become a real life sport. And I click over to the page on Jugger. Turns out there are two versions of Jugger that are played in real life. There's the armored version where people beat each other up, and the unarmored version that's more like fencing, one touch, you're out, which I still haven't played because there's not a league in LA, but I'd like to try. And the armored version, on that page, there's a picture of it being played at Wasteland Weekend, which is this post-apocalyptic festival in Southern California that kind of grew out of the Ren Fair largely. It's like if the Ren Fair was a 5-day festival instead of like a thing you go to for the day, and it was post-apocalyptic instead of Elizabethan, and everyone was in costume. And I'd heard of it before and hadn't gotten around to going before then. But I saw that and I was like, oh yeah, I'd been thinking of going to that. And so I immediately went to their Facebook page and said, I'd like to try out. And they said, all right, well, tryouts happen at the beginning of summer. So come see us in June. And so I just like took a note of that. And the following June, 2021, I showed up to a park in Pasadena and started practicing with them. Which, by the way, no one has ever done that before. Just to be clear, they're like, everyone who gets into Jugger, they go to Wasteland Weekend first and they find it there, or they're friends with a Jugger, or we've had a couple people who got into Wasteland Weekend and like read about the Juggers and decided to try out in advance of their first Wasteland Weekend. But I'm the only person, other than the founders of the league, because the league kind of predates Wasteland Weekend. Other than them, I'm the only person who decided to become a Jugger first, and then basically just went to Wasteland because he wanted to play Jugger. So I remember at one point during tryouts, I was asking people questions about Wasteland Weekend, and they were just like messing with me and telling me it was the size of Burning Man. Like, oh yeah, it's about 5 miles across. It's not that big. It's like 4,000 people, quarter mile across. And one guy's like, wait, so you haven't been yet? No. Wait, so like who here do you know? No one. How did you find us? Internet.
Rutger Hauer.
Yeah. That's fantastic.
My good friend Rutger Hauer pointed me in this direction.
Yeah. Yes. My idol, Rutger Hauer.
So when you first show up for this practice, you don't have armor. Like, when do you start? Like, how do you get started then? Do you start building armor at some point? Like what?
Yeah. They give you advice on building armor. I mean, you can show up with stuff, but I wanted to show up first and get guidelines on how to make it. So I showed up with like some shin guards and a cup maybe. And you don't need armor. Smart. The very first day of tryouts, you don't really need armor because they go over, you don't play the whole game yet. You're just kind of going over the basics. As practice goes on throughout the practice goes from like June to September, about 3 months. As it goes on, you buy or build stuff and start putting your armor together. Some people are very good. Like, there are a lot of people in this community who are very good at making stuff. There's a big contingent at Wasteland Weekend of people who work in the film industry, making props, making costumes, making movie sets. There are a lot of people who are like Ren Fair people who do blacksmithing and stuff like that. We actually have the high referee of the league is kind of a famous blacksmith. One of the league founders, who's now the commissioner, is like a welder by trade who's also learned to blacksmith and knows how to build basically everything. Another guy makes chainmail as a hobby. I'm not good at any of that, so I used actual sports gear as the basis for pretty much everything that I make, and then decoed it up. I'm not a guy who can make chainmail or enamel. Yeah, you have to deco it up. You can't just look like you just bought stuff off the rack. But I mean, like I attach.
You can't just look like a MLB catcher, right?
Yeah. Funny you say that. I just bought a pair of catchers, like knee pad shin guard combos, because I've been wearing military knee pads and shin guards separately, and they keep slipping, and I'm tired of it. But yeah, I need to like paint all that up in a camo pattern, and yeah, I have this new set of like biker armor that I haven't decoed that I'm gonna paint in a camouflage pattern and attach strips of camo so it looks kind of like a ghillie suit. Okay. Speaking of the deco, so this gets into the league concept. We have two teams and they have distinct identities. One is the Army of Los Angeles. That's my team. And the other one is the Red City Raiders, which in the kayfabe or the lore, the Army of Los Angeles is the professional army of the city-state of Los Angeles. Red City is a biker gang that controls Riverside in our role play thing. So they are a lot less uniform in their appearance. They're bikers. We all wear camo of some kind, and work that into our appearance. So that's why everything I've made has involved a lot of camouflage. My original armor was a set of hockey pads that I attached some tires to on the chest, and I covered it in this like faux alligator skin latex. But it started to fall apart because when you punch holes in foam, the holes want to tear wider and wider. So I'm making new armor this year.
Gotcha. Now, in the actual sport, there are, or in the movie sport, there are positions. There's the quick. That's the one who's trying to get the skull to the spike. There's the
there's a slasher or a slash, right?
Yeah. So
there's a griffer,
and then there's the chain guy.
I think he's the griffer, at least right. That was
I believe that's the term they use in the movie. So we don't use all the position terms in the movie. We use the term quick as in the movie, and then the movie uses like specific terms for all four of the other positions. We have the quick, the chain. We don't bother with the griffer term. And then each team then all the other people who have sticks are collectively called enforcers. Up to one person on a team is allowed to have a hooked stick. In the movie, they're called the slash. The two other people with straight sticks in the movie are the drive and the back charge. We do use the term back charge. That's basically the goalie, the guy who stays back and stays near the goal. We don't really use the term drive. I've heard the term interceptor used for someone who's like faster and uses two sticks. We have some weapons that you don't see in the movie. We have sword and shield. We have dual swords. Those I don't think are in the movie at all. But so we allow a few. Right. We allow a few things that are safe and cool that are not in the movie. But we have the rule of one chain and one team. And of course, one quick per team. That's required because they're the only ones who can handle the skull and score.
Right.
Gotcha. It's funny because I think of them kind of like the seeker in Quidditch, right? Like they're the one who's looking for the snitch there at the end, and if they can capture it, that's the end of the game, and that's what the quick trying to get the skull on the spike is the end of the game. And then so in the film, they do three. It's kind of like hockey in that they have 3 periods, but it's 100 stones 3 times.
How do you guys do the timing? Do you guys do the timing just like?
Well, let's explain it for people who haven't seen the movie. There's a guy who throws a rock at a metal thing, and he throws 100 rocks.
It's always an old guy throwing stones at like a metal plate or a gong.
He does it kind of slow, and you have to score before that 100th stone hits the panel, which there's a break. Do you guys do that as well?
No, they tried that early on. And it's very hard to get the stone thrower to be consistent about it because they want to watch the game. Like that's the weird thing in the movie. This is the only form of entertainment, and one person in every town volunteers to do that instead of like just watching the game. Like, so we actually play it instead of 3 periods. We play it with 2 halves, and we don't time it. The high referee just kind of makes his judgment call about either when the audience is losing interest or when we're getting too tired, or for the second half when we have to wrap it up because there's like a concert or something after us because we
because you have a schedule.
At Wasteland, we play in front of the main stage. So there's always something going on right after us. We have a time slot. Right before us, there's always like a metal band doing sound check, which is great because they'll like play some riffs as we're walking up there and introduce us. But
nice. You get like some walk-up music.
The high referee just kind of makes a judgment call, but it's usually about 20 minutes a half. And then we'll have a burlesque show at halftime while we're resting up.
Interesting. So awesome. Then tell us, are the rules different then? I guess it's like when you guys are playing, like how does a match like progress? Like what will happen? What would we see if we were watching?
Well, like for starters, in the movie, it's played to 1 point. As soon as someone scores, it's over. And it's often over in like 20 or 30 seconds, which is like not fun. so we don't play to 1 point. We play till we're done. In the movie, there are also like metal weapons, which we don't do because this is real life. So the sticks are usually rattan sticks, which we will pad. Nice. We'll pad with usually yoga mat or pool noodle or a mix of both. The chains are plastic chains, and they will at some point along the chain have a break point where the chain is connected with some rubber inner tube, and that is so that if the chain wraps someone and you yank on it, the chain will break instead of dislocating their shoulder, which happened, or choking them out, which happened a lot. The dislocation, not like strangulation, I don't think has happened. But there were some dislocated shoulders in the early years until they started requiring break points. So no metal weapons, no bladed weapons or sharp edges, no zip ties because those can cut people, no helmets with nails sticking out of them, which I'm told there was in the first year. I don't know why.
Oh my what?
So in the first year, they weren't playing the game. They were just like doing some sparring matches and not playing the whole game. So maybe it's not quite as crazy as it sounds, but it's still pretty crazy. I guess I had nails sticking out of his helmet.
Wow.
We have a lot of stories about people getting like concussions and dislocated joints in the first few years before all the safety rules we have now were implemented. Since I've joined, no one has been immediately hospitalized. We've had a couple of injuries where people were like, I'm going to go to the hospital in a few days after Wasteland Weekend is over, but it's not urgent. I had one of those, but gotcha. we've had no like this person needs an ambulance incidents in the last 3 years.
It's just a flesh wound.
Did you notice that when you said hospitalized, I don't know whose house it was, but someone had an ambulance going by.
Well, that's mine.
In the background. Yeah. Did you hear that?
Yeah,
it was funny. As soon as you mentioned hospitalized, it sounded like people listening on the podcast could be like, "Wow, real clever, Jeff, putting a sound effect in there." No, that was a real ambulance.
Yeah,
no, that's a real ambulance.
Yeah,
I'm really going to the hospital.
That was hilarious timing. Yeah,
yeah.
That's crazy. So, I'm hoping not to offend with this question, but
oh no.
So is it like legitimate? Like you guys play to win, or do you guys have any kind of theatrics that you add into like?
Oh yeah.
The storyline. Are you like? Do you know what I'm saying? Like kind of like, almost like professional wrestling,
pro wrestling.
Like, kind of. So we like to say it's about 70% sport and 30% theatrics. I mentioned that Wasteland in general grew out of Ren Fair. The founders, the people who started our league. They did something called Battle Pageant at Ren Fair, which is the simulated medieval combat, which the specific thing they did kind of got discontinued at that Ren Fair that we go to. So I never saw it, but I guess it had a mix of like staged mass combat and actual real individual combat that was a bit stylized. So this is heavily inspired by that. The individual combats that are not scripted, but a bit stylized. That's kind of the lineage of our version of Jugger. So we are playing to win. It's not scripted. You really can't script a 5-on-5 sport.
Sure. Right.
But it is a little stylized in that we will exaggerate our movements a bit. We will pull the hits a little bit and not follow through as hard as we could, especially if we're hitting the head or the back. We will fight until we can tell that we've lost. And like when we go down, it's not like a boxing match where we literally can't get up. We're taking the loss when we know we've been beaten, because if we actually fought until we couldn't get up, we would not be getting up within a matter of minutes. It would be a while. We would die. These are wooden sticks.
We've seen the movie.
Yeah. Yeah. We would honest to God, like get broken legs and stuff like in the movie. So we're not trying to cripple each other. As far as like storyline, we don't have like a story for the games. Theatrically, like I said, there are 2 teams that represent city-states in Southern California. To the extent that there is a role play, the idea is that these 2 cities are allied and the league is kind of the two of them showing off their alliance to everyone else. Like, look how tough our people are, and look, we're friends now. So the nice thing about that is it doesn't require us to pretend in front of the audience that we're like enemies or anything. Like, we can actually have good sportsmanship, and it's not something we have to hide.
Yeah.
That's
And
cool.
Beyond that, there's not like a story behind the game or that we try to do.
There's not like an overreaching like story arc for the season or whatever.
No, we don't do anything like that.
And you mentioned earlier that you have a Jugger name. Is there a persona that comes along with that? Like, do you have a backstory?
Yeah, my Jugger name is
we haven't
Hydra. So I chose that name before I even made it to my first tryout. Inspired by the actual medieval monster, not the Marvel weird whatever Hydra is.
Sure.
It's like an alien hive mind or something. I only saw in America.
It's an organization very much like the Third Reich, and they do base their name and their logo on the mythical creature Hydra, because one of the things they say is cut off one head and two will replace it. So
someone told me that in the comics Hydra turns out to be like an alien parasitic hive mind or something, but I haven't read comics in a while. I just know the Captain America. But I was inspired by the monster because I knew I was going to get hurt playing this game, and I did get hurt in my very second practice when I was trying out. My helmet popped off because the chin strap sucked, and I actually got punched in the mouth instead of in the helmet. And I'll send you guys the photo. It's great. I'm just like covered in blood. There's even a video of it somewhere. I'll have to see if Wolf Girl still has that. She's one of our players who took the video. But
Wolf Girl, nice.
Yes, we all have cool names. I came up with the name Hydra because I knew I was going to get hurt, and Hydras only get stronger when they get hurt unless you do it just right. So that was like symbolic for me. Mm-hmm. But actually, there are naming conventions for the two teams. Red City is just generally like a name that sounds like a biker would use it as a nickname, like just vaguely. If it sounds like a nickname a biker would have. Army of Los Angeles we mostly name ourselves after American weapon systems like Tomahawk or Seawolf. And I got lucky on that because there is actually a rocket pod. The Hydra rocket pod, an anti-armor rocket pod carried by helicopters. So I was lucky that I just happened to choose a name that fit that rule.
Is there somebody named Star Wars?
Right.
No, that might
Reagan's weapon system.
Someone could be called Patriot. I guess maybe a specific weapon system rather than the overarching.
Patriot would be one.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Yeah, there are a lot of open names.
Sidewinder. There's so many. Harpoon.
We have a Sidewinder. Sidewinder is a new. Wait, no, sorry, I take that back. We have a player who used the name Sidewinder for this other thing called Neotropolis, which is a cyberpunk festival run by the same company, and we do a different thing there that's more like pro wrestling that's scripted. He's the name Sidewinder in that. The name Sidewinder. I think
I saw on their page. It's kind of the logo looked like American Gladiators. You guys
yes, Neo Gladiators. That is inspired by American Gladiators and the Running Man. Yeah, so that's
the Running Man.
A different thing that we do that is a lot more scripted, more like pro wrestling at this other festival that grew out of Jugger. Or they grew out of the festival.
You guys got some cool festivals.
Yeah, it's a very fun community with these themes.
In Ohio here, we got the Ren Fair. We got the Great Lakes, not Ren Fair. What's it called? Utah Great Lakes.
Shakespeare Festival?
No, it's like a Ren Fair, but it's called something else. I can't think of it all of a sudden. The girl's just fair? Going on right now. Medieval Fair. I think that's it.
Yeah.
They're always medieval related, although
usually we're looking to the past. You guys are looking into the future out there in California.
Most of us are into Ren Fair. Yeah, I got into Ren Fair after I got into Jugger. I got talked into it because one of the Juggers, a lot of the Juggers do Ren Fair, but one of the guys on my team, Colonel Megadeth, has the coolest gig at Ren Fair. He's the upright man, which is basically the mafia boss of the town. So while everyone else is like at their station, like blacksmithing or role playing a shopkeeper or whatever, he just gets to wander around the Ren Fair playing cards and scamming people.
He just walks around
and threatening people. Yeah, it's great. So I get to be one of his henchmen, and it's great because we're the only people at the whole Ren Fair who get to like threaten to break patrons' legs and throw them in the river. Is weird. I mean, not just any patron.
They all laugh it off.
We go up to like people who are dressed as like criminals, like assassins or pirates, and we're like, "Are you planning to commit crimes in my town?"
Smart.
Oh no, you're welcome to commit crimes. We encourage crime. Just if you do,
please do.
You owe us our 10% though. If you steal anything and you our cut, then we're gonna have problems. You're gonna wind up in the river.
It's quite the racket.
That's fantastic. Yeah. Oh, what fun.
Yeah. So he got me into Ren Fair. It's a great gig.
So tell us a little bit about Wasteland Weekend. Then this is a you said it's a 5-day festival.
Yeah, is it just like a big organized gathering of like Mad Max fanatics, or I mean?
Yes, it started out as a much smaller event called Road Warrior Weekend that was put on by a couple hundred people who work in the film industry, and the founders of our league don't work in the film industry, but they knew someone who does. And so this friend called them up and said, "We're doing this thing, Road Warrior Weekend. A bunch of film industry people are going to be camping out, cosplaying as Mad Max characters. And we need entertainment. You guys have been like developing this Jugger sport based on that movie. Could you play it there?" So the league predates the event. And after that first year, they changed the name to Wasteland Weekend because once it became a thing, they did not want to get sued.
That's fair.
But it's, I mean, the creators of Mad Max know about it. They promote Mad Max there. The Wasteland Weekend before Fury Road came out, they actually unveiled it at Wasteland Weekend. Like the director and George Miller and Hugh Bryce Curran, I believe, was with him, like video conferenced in on this big screen to Wasteland Weekend. And that was before I joined.
Cool.
That. So they know about us, you know. But yes, it was originally specifically a Mad Max thing. As it's grown, it's become a little broader. You see costumes inspired by Fallout, the Stalker video games, Blood of Heroes, other post-apocalyptic stuff that I'm blanking on, or just generally like novel post-apocalyptic stuff that's not specific movie inspired.
That's cool. That's cool.
That 5 days people camp out. Everyone is in costume. There's actually a rule that everyone needs to be in costume because, like I said, this grew out of Ren Fair. The people running it want to blur the distinction between performer and audience by having everyone be in costume.
Interesting.
And people just kind of hang out. There's music. There are a lot of themed camps that have events going on. Most of the entertainment is put on by the patrons that have organized camps like us. And then a few of the bigger events are put on by the festival itself. So it's like Burning Man in that regard, although it is really, in terms of who goes, more closely related to the local Ren Fair here in Los Angeles.
That's very cool. Now, are there, I'm assuming that not everybody is going there to role play all weekend. Some people are just there dressed up in costumes to enjoy the 5 days.
Yeah, but then I would say it's like 20%.
Are there some people that take it seriously?
Yes. My friend Colonel Megadeth, who is also the crime boss at Ren Fair, is a hardcore role player who like, he tries to not break character for 5 whole days. He can't quite do it, but he tries to. He really likes to stay in character. I'd say about 20% of the people who go there get really into role playing. And if you do, there's a bunch of stuff you can do. Like, so I got to tell you, when I first heard about this, I thought, well, that sounds dorky as hell. Like, it was like, I remember Colonel Megadeth said to me, so like, would you like to try some role play stuff? You know, like we're like an army, you know, we can go around doing like winning hearts and minds stuff. I'm like, yeah, sure, dude, I'll try it out, whatever. So I get there, and on my first day, there's another camp there, the Wasteland Communication Corporation, that actually prints a newspaper at Wasteland. Every day they print a newspaper on site. And so the first issue they have written up beforehand, and then the other like 4 days after that, they actually will write up and then print on site at the festival. So like it's written that day.
Cool.
I like little like reports they have there. So I read the first day's paper as the festival's beginning, and it has an article about how last year at Wasteland Weekend, our leaders, Colonel Megadeth and General City Buster, were kidnapped by some guy, by a guy named Zero, who runs Rabbit Asylum. That's like the insane criminal group. And our good friend, Captain Finn, who is a pirate in the desert for some reason, wants to hire mercenaries to strike back at them in revenge. And then I was like, okay, well, fine. If it's for our group, I'll do it. And so I go to Captain Finn. I'm like, yeah, I'd like to take this mercenary gig and go raid these guys. And so right off the bat, I'm like casing the place. I'm like getting together a crew and like going and like just raiding this guy's camp and stealing a box that has a label on it that says it's meant to be stolen, taking it back to our place, then going to raid another camp that's allied with them. So I just jumped right into it. Thanks
you got
in
sucked
part
in right
to,
away.
Yeah. I mean, thanks to Colonel Megadeth and Captain Finn. Big thanks to them for getting me into it, because if I was on my own, I would have been like, live action role play. No, not for me.
Right.
But, yeah,
LARPing?
If you really want to get into it, it can feel like you're in one of the Fallout games where you're going around getting quests and like go on the scavenger hunt, go raid these people, go uncover some information for us. We'll pay you in bottle caps.
Right.
That's awesome. I saw in one of the videos I was watching, learning a little bit about this, that they even had an actual Thunderdome built there. With people hanging from the wires and fighting. And so do they do that every year, or was that
every year other than 1 year that group missed it? I think because of COVID. That is run by a group called Death Guild out of San Francisco. Back when I lived in San Francisco, actually, I don't know if they still do it, but they did a weekly event at the local goth club in San Francisco that I used to go to. So they actually also do the Thunderdome at Burning Man. So they're one of the few groups here that also does Burning Man, which is like a month before Wasteland. So it's really back to back. But yes, they have an actual Thunderdome that's like a big geodesic metal dome. And just like in the movie, people will climb on the dome to watch the fights from above. And they have like bungee cords that people hang from while fighting each other. And unlike Jugger, anyone can sign up to fight in it. And I still haven't. And I need to do that this year. I still haven't. The thing about a Jugger doing Thunderdome,
I feel like that's calling your name.
Yeah. The thing about Juggers doing Thunderdome is we're only supposed to do it on Saturday night after we've finished our Jugger matches, because God forbid we get injured doing
you don't want to
that.
get injured. Yeah.
Yeah. No, we have a performance we're supposed to put on, right? So yes, there is a Thunderdome. I do need to sign up for it and do it this year. It is calling my name. Yeah. That's going to be one of my birthday gifts to myself. Wasteland Weekend is always on my birthday, as luck would have it.
Really? You're a September birthday.
Yes, it is always the last week of September, which is when my birthday is.
Nice.
That is, yeah. So this this is a perfect time to segue into this year. It is September 25th through 29th. And where exactly does it take place? If somebody wanted to find out more, or if they wanted to go.
Yeah. It takes place just outside of California City, or Edwards. It's like right next to Edwards Air Force Base. So for those who don't know, that's like 2 hours. Yeah. 2 hours north of Los Angeles. Seriously, right next to Edwards. Like you see military planes fly over all the time. We saw last year, or no, at Neotropolis this year, we saw the new B-21 Raider prototype fly over, the new bomb. Yeah, you see military planes fly over it all the time. So that's 2 hours north of Los Angeles. Because I know people are going to ask this. It is not where Coachella is. Coachella is Coachella and some of those other things are 2 hours east of Los Angeles by Palm Springs. Yeah. This is north in the kind of the higher desert.
Right. Coachella is like in like the nicer desert area, where this is actually more of wasteland, post-apocalyptic Mad Max.
This is a lot more middle of nowhere, because Coachella is by Palm Springs and this is by California City, which is just a tiny little town. So it's there's
they
not a
seem
whole
to have a lot more water and green grass over at Coachella.
it's a little greener. This really, really is the desert. I mean, it's just dirt.
Wow.
Perfect.
So if people want more information, that's at wastelandweekend.com. That is the website for Wasteland Weekend. If people want more information about the Juggers League, well, I mean, I don't know if they would have to Google in their local area, but if they're in LA and they wanted to find out what you guys were doing, what would they do?
Facebook. So they go on Facebook and look for the Juggers of the Wasteland. We have a Facebook page. If you want to try out, you go on that Facebook page and message the admin, General City Buster. And if you're interested in Wasteland Weekend, aside from the website, go on Facebook and look for a group called Wastelanders Central. That's kind of the central social hub for Wasteland. Pretty much everything related to Wasteland Weekend is through Facebook and Facebook groups. And by the way, like half the people who go to Wasteland actually have their Wasteland name rather than their real name as their Facebook name. It's like, I don't know if they have another Facebook profile with their real name or it's just like Wasteland.
I was going to say, is it like a second profile or can they change?
I don't know.
That's interesting.
Honest to God, there are people at Wasteland who I'm friends with on Facebook and I still don't know their real names because they're their Facebook name is Sheriff Trail Boss or Captain Finn or Slugger or whatever. Those are all real names.
Fantastic.
Real Wasteland. So everyone at Wasteland has a Wasteland name, by the way. Everyone at Wasteland has a Wasteland name that they use. My first day at Wasteland, I introduced myself. I said, "Hi, I'm John" to someone, and one of the guys "No, you're Hydra. No real names. Get in character." And even if they're not role playing, which most people don't, it's just get into the spirit. Use your stage name. Yeah. So everyone has a Wasteland.
Fantastic.
What would your Wasteland name be, Utah? What do you think?
I don't know. Slim?
Yeah, I'd have to give some thought. I bet you there's a Wasteland name generator out there.
I'm sure there is. I would have to. I would want to give it some thought.
I mean, the thing is, you would want to think about what you're doing at Wasteland and what your costume looks like, and maybe work backwards from there.
If I were going to Wasteland, I would want to kind of come up with a character and be that character for even just a little bit.
Yeah, our high referee is called Fixer. He's a blacksmith and he fixes stuff. And then, of course, everyone makes the same joke about him fixing the match every year.
That's great.
Figure out what you're doing.
There is.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because there are a couple of name generators out there. I just Googled. So I just randomly apparently am Decimation of Mankind. I don't know.
Wow, that's aggressive.
That's a very aggressive name. What else do you got? Can I just
call you Gentleness or something like that?
The Purge. Okay.
The Purge. That's good. The best piece that name I've seen. There's a guy who calls himself Lead Cloud. He's with I think he's the leader of the group. There's a small group that is based on the Stalker video games.
Oh,
so
nice.
they have a van with Ukrainian writing on it, and they're all in camo and gas masks. But I love that Lead Cloud. You know who Red Cloud was, the Lakota war leader. I think inspired by that. Lead Cloud, bullets.
Interesting.
Yeah, I mean it's just a very
very creative. That's awesome.
Yeah, it's my favorite name.
Putrefaction is available too.
Putrefaction. Cool. There we go.
Yeah.
Putrefaction.
And apparently, there's a French version.
I'm not sure if any French names would sound
L'interruption. That's
intimidating enough.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't sound at all. I'd be not afraid of that guy.
It's very hard for a French name to sound intimidating. They're just too pretty.
No, it's
German name, maybe.
It's just
yeah. Oh yeah, for sure. Awesome.
Unless you're Leon the professional.
Yeah.
Well, yes. Yeah. Leon the semi-professional, maybe, because that name's not taken yet.
There you go.
Leon the side gig.
Yeah.
Right.
Leon, the guy who's working on his passion. Leon, the guy who
Right.
needs to pick up a few extra bucks by killing people.
Leon
Right.
the 1099. Nah,
Yeah.
Yeah. Because
Leon, the weekend warrior.
Leon, the independent contractor. Yeah.
that's right.
Oh my gosh.
Leon, the substitute assassin.
So
When your main guy
there
gets
you go.
sick.
Oh man. Well, I don't know, John. This sounds amazing. I am sold. I wish that I lived near LA, or at least could get out there for this, because this is
Sounds
amazing.
like a blast.
I would love to see it live. I don't know how I would dress. Like I'm not a cosplay guy. My daughters are the cosplayers in this family.
Jeff,
Yeah.
look, it's
I
very
love
simple.
cosplay. It's just not something I've thought about.
Jeff, worst case scenario, get some khaki pants and put white powder all over yourself and be a war boy.
I guess. Yeah. Nobody wants to see that. I'm pale enough as it is. And I would,
Well, you wouldn't have to put on the white.
Yeah. And I'm not going shirtless. So let's just forget about it.
We do have war boys there. There are war boys.
Yeah.
They are shirtless and
That's
silver.
fantastic.
As they should be.
Well, John, I want to thank you so much for coming on the show and talking to us about this. It was great to share this passion for Blood of Heroes with you. I can hear the excitement in your voice when you talk about it. That's why one of the reasons I think I would love to come out and see it, because obviously you guys take it seriously and have a great time.
Well, it's the most fun I've ever had. And I mean, I wish we played more events outside of Wasteland. We all want to, and we're hoping to be able to do that again in the future.
Yeah.
That'd be
and
cool.
I imagine
Yeah,
you might have to
accessible.
drive a little ways, but there's probably other like conventions or cons and stuff that would be interested in that kind of stuff.
I mean, so in the past, we played at Combat Con in Las Vegas, which is a medieval, historical European martial arts convention. One year they played at Knotfest, which is a heavy metal festival put on by Slipknot. Right now, we need to increase our numbers to be able to field enough people to do other events. So if we can get our recruiting up, and that's my main motivation for coming on podcasts. I want us to recruit enough people that we can play other events, really. But the ability and the desire to do that is there. We just need a deeper roster. So hopefully one of these days soon, we will be playing events that don't require you to go to a 5-day festival to see us play. I mean, to be clear, they still will be in Southern California or maybe NorCal. Tryouts are every summer, going from June through September. So we last Sunday was our second tryout. We do them every other Sunday for about 3 months.
Oh,
so right now we've got a few new tryouts who are going to join us this year. And funny enough, like last Sunday, a guy who plays the unarmored version of Jugger in Portland, who was on vacation down in Pasadena, just happened upon us in the park and just came and hung out with us. And he's hoping to join us next year.
How cool. That's awesome.
Yeah. Small world.
Fantastic. Yeah.
Yeah.
And if people want to join us, I already said this, right? Juggers of the Wasteland on Facebook.
There you go. Well, before we go, you did say you were a photographer too. Why don't you, if you want to share your photography website as well, tell us a little bit about that so people can find you and get more information. Let you do that now too.
Oh yeah. I mean, my photography, I do fashion, boudoir. I'm not primarily a cosplay photographer, although I do some of that. JohnFawkesPhotography.com. Although I think people might be more interested in my Instagram. It's official John Fawkes. And I do have some stuff from Wasteland Weekend and Neotropolis on my Instagram. Every year I do, I'm not on the photography team there because they have an official photography team. But every year I take my camera, I take a few photos, and I put some of that up on Instagram. And they are some of my more popular photos because, there's a built-in audience for them. So if you want to get a look at what that's and I'll be posting Instagram stories about our practices every other Sunday. Official John Fawkes on Instagram.
And that's Fawkes, Fawkes.
Yes.
Awesome. And we'll put all this in the show notes too for people to check it out. So make sure you check that out. Check out his Instagram. Check out Wasteland Weekend. If you're in the LA area and you, this sounds like fun, you want to go beat on some other people with sticks and hooks and plastic chains for some fun. That sounds like the place to be. Make sure to check it out.
Yeah, no, I hope some people who listen to this will decide to join us. We are always looking for people who are not afraid to get punched in the face while wearing a goofy costume.
Nothing wrong with that.
In front of hundreds of screaming fans who are demanding blood. That's also fun.
Yeah, that's the part that would make it.
That's what makes it worth it, really.
Right?
That's really why you do it.
Yeah, I've never been a performer by nature. I've always been an recreational sports guy, but it is fun. Yeah.
There you go.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Nice.
No, you're good. Well, thanks again for being on the show, John. It has been absolutely fascinating to talk to you. I'd love to get back in touch with you after Wasteland Weekend. We'd like to hear how it went.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Don't forget to follow us on all our social media platforms for more content and behind-the-scenes fun. And here's a special treat for our amazing listeners. Head to any of our social media posts and comment with the word Ischia for a chance to win a digital copy of Casino in Ischia, courtesy of our good friends over at Paramount Pictures. It's that simple. That's all you have to do. Just follow us and say that. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll catch you next time on The Podcast is Real.
The Podcast is Real is a Wild Gone Geek production.